Futures trading involves a substantial risk of loss and may not be suitable for all investors. Therefore, carefully consider whether such trading is suitable for you in light of your financial condition.
Good morning. It's Monday, December 29th. I'm Phil Streible, Chief Market Strategist at Blue Line Futures. So tech stocks dragging some of the indices a bit lower here, and volatility really striking in the precious metals markets, and specifically silver. So one thing that I do recommend here is if you go to your studies, your indicators on any chart that you have out there, and you throw up that ATR, which is average true range, you can see that really since October is when it pushed up through that $2 mark here, meaning that the average true range on silver throughout the day is going to be about $2. And over about the last week here, jumping up to $3.35. So on that 1,000-ounce contract, that's $3,350. And that's where you get twice as much volatility, or a 50% rise in volatility from something like October. You're going to want to adjust your position sizes accordingly. Now you look back at the precious metals here, you've got gold down $82, silver down $2.85, but it doesn't paint the picture of about a $9 range overnight here. So big moves there. Copper falling about 40 cents, 30 to 40 cents, aluminum down $70, platinum down $155, palladium down $200, and the gold silver ratio sitting at 60-1. So you look at that volatility overnight here. Traders are really pairing a lot of risk here as we get going in this final week of 2025. You got volatility hitting the precious metals overnight. Silver retreating from that record high 82.67 on the March futures, and there's no real clear reason for the drop in silver prices. However, the low liquidity levels combined with silver's rapid rise make it susceptible to this type of sudden reversal. We did see a weekend comment by Elon Musk highlighting the growing bullishness around precious metals and the concerns on Chinese export restrictions, saying on X here that this is not good, that silver is needed for many industrial processes. So you're going to look at substitution risk and things like that when you start getting into silver here, and when you're working on an application process on the industrial side. Warren Buffett, he often noted here that like most trends, they're initially driven by those fundamentals, but at some point speculation takes over. So you look at silver volatility index, and this is something else you should throw on your charts, jumping to 76. So that's a 30% rise here from Friday to Monday, and it's testing some of the highest levels since when? March of 2020, that's when we had COVID, and then February 2021 when we punched through $30. And many of you working closely with me had option positions from an article that I put out on Kitco looking for a potential another squeeze here higher on the silver market. Now some sectors in focus, obviously the U.S. miners here, they're going to be active as silver gyrates, smashing through $80 an ounce for the first time, and copper jumping to a record here on the London Metal Exchange. Now looking at the economic data coming out, we're going to get a reading of pending home sales for November, due out at 9 a.m. Central Time here, followed by at 9:30 Dallas's Fed December manufacturing survey, and a minutes from the Fed meeting here, which will be important here. We'll also on Tuesday get the first global purchasing manufacturers index here of the year here, and it's due out on Friday. So looking at the rate cut expectations, it's something to note here. They are increasing a bit here. With the CME's Fed Watch Tool at that January 28th meeting, markets are now anticipating about a 17% likelihood that the Fed will cut rates about 25 basis points. The March meeting jumping up to 44%. You look at the FX market, some of the other risk here, dollar index jumping up about 12, so not really a catalyst here for the downside move in the precious metals markets. The euro down 16 at 118.04. 10-year treasury yields dropping down to 4.12%. Should be a bullish catalyst for the precious metals markets. Not seeing anything there. So this is really driven by speculation and end of the year positioning here and a lot of liquidation. The VIX jumping up to 16.94. So no real volatility in the U.S. equity markets. Bitcoin coming off a bit, just below 88,000 after punching through 90,000 overnight. The S&P Gamma exposure, market makers are currently long Gamma. You go over to Europe, you go over to Asia here, European stocks, they were muted as they're really weighing in on those negotiations around a potential peace deal in Ukraine. And you got Asian equities extending their gains here for a 7th straight day. Perhaps some of that Asian speculation here going on in the precious metals markets could be some of the driver of the liquidation and the volatility back and forth here, with Asian equities having the longest winning streak here in 3 months, with the MSCI Asia Index climbing about 0.6%. You go to the ETF flows here, this could also be a driver of the precious metals. They were buying gold, platinum, and palladium on Friday, and a lot of people selling out of that silver. So a lot of people will check out for the remainder of the for the remainder of the year. Now we look at last week's changes here. The ETFs, they increased their gold holdings by 564,000 troy ounces. They increased their silver holdings by 13 million ounces. That's where the speculation has really come into play. We had that massive move. I remember reporting about 11.7 million ounce jump, and I was laughing as doing the recording here and reading that off the Bloomberg terminal. If you go to the platinum holdings, increasing 36,000, palladium holdings increasing 16,000. So you go back to silver and ETF flows here. They did cut about 257,000 troy ounces of silver, the holdings in their last trading session, bringing this year's net purchases to 150 million ounces. Third straight day of declines here and the longest losing streak since November 10th. So low liquidity, a lot of liquidation, people check out for the year. You want to utilize some of these positions, some of this sell-off here to start maybe looking at into those 2026 positioning. So I'll be pricing up a lot of the options and looking farther out here as my bullish thesis, I think, continues to unfold, specifically on the gold market and on the copper market where an opportunity may lie. If you guys got any questions, you'd like to open up a futures trade account with us, or you'd like to explore opportunities on our wealth management side, shoot an email to info@bluelionfutures.com. And remember that futures and option trading does involve risk of loss. May not be suitable to all investors. Good luck, good trading.
Futures trading involves a substantial risk of loss and may not be suitable for all investors. Therefore, carefully consider whether such trading is suitable for you in light of your financial condition.